big welcome back. You're still watching the Afia Morning Show this Wednesday morning, midweek, and we're still super excited about all we still have coming your way this week, and of course, beginning today on the show. Ojiwachuku is here, haven't taken the news. I will not say he's still here because you never left. So
yeah, good morning.
Good morning, Oji.
Second day in the month of July.
Exactly.
Second quarter of 2025.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm fantastic. I mean, we're almost there. It's almost, well, Christmas again. Birthdays are past. Birthdays are still coming. You know, so much happening. 2025 is speeding super fast.
I don't know why.
I don't know why. And
no, the hydraulics and the...
Yes, and of course, this is a golden morning right here. You can see how the sun is just radiating golden rays this morning. And that's just telling you that you're going to have a positive day ahead. Mr. Harrison Ocholor is with us. He's joining us from Asaba, Delta State this morning. So as I said, headlines. Mr. Harrison, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Natalie, and good morning, OG. And good morning to our viewers out there nationwide and in diaspora.
Good morning and welcome to. How are you doing today?
Awesome. The weather cold. Yes, it rains, stopped, rained again. So, yeah, we're coping, and of course, with a warm cup of coffee or green tea, whichever.
I like the sound of that. I like the sound of a warm cup of coffee. Make it extra hot, by the way.
Oh. Not
extra hot, yes. With some coffee.
Now I'm going to. I just have to now take a break and go make coffee quickly. I mean, we should have coffee here. I don't know why it's not. Yeah, we're definitely going to sort that out. Okay, let's take a look at headlines making the news this morning. Some interesting headlines. We're still seeing that the front pages are still booked for the commissioning rounds going on in Abuja. But we'll see the headlines we can squeeze out of each of the dailies. Beginning with Nigerian Tribune, Atiku, David Mark, Tambuwal, Lamido, others want PDP collapse into coalition. Says party now a shadow of itself. Controversy trails Ondo, government's planned inquest into Akeredolu's death. Moving on straight to the Punch. 2027 crossfire, I beg your pardon, APC strikes back after Mark Lamido slammed Tinubu government. And away from here, straight to Vanguard, worsening abductions, killings, Boko Haram's renewed attacks, others alarming, according to Sultan's JNI. Another one here, oil production, federal government to withdraw license of firms with dormant oil fields. I'm moving on straight to The Guardian, more headlines here, 2027, Northern PDP leaders settle on ADC as preferred coalition. Reps tickets may cost 500 million naira post-election litigation, 1 billion naira. This is a special story on page 4. Obi flays St. Lucia's highest honor knight commander title on Tinubu. Obi flays St. Lucia's highest honor knight commander title on Tinubu. Reps tickets may cost 500 million naira post-election litigation. We've taken that already. Ondo government's quest to probe Akeredolu's death sparks controversy. Another one here, Rivers Lagos worst hit as cult clashes claim 1,686 lives in 5 years. Another one here, operators demanded tariff increase to stave off 6 trillion naira gas debt. And lastly here, Omokri places 3 million naira bounty on ex-users threatening Obi's wife and children.
Okay, I'm starting from Daily Trust. Ahead, ADC's meeting today. Atiku woos PDP leaders to coalition. How we can transform livestock sector into modern business, attributed to the minister. Military kills 10 terrorists at Nigeria-Cameroon border. INEC proposes fresh guidelines to review of election results. Dan data buried in Saudi Arabia. Dan Bokolo, the rise and fall of bandits warlord. And lastly, right here on Daily Trust, Lagos traditional ruler dethrones 6 chiefs for impersonating him at LP campaign. Moving over to this day. 2 Kano emirs join Tajuddin Dangote Sayud FG team in Medina to bury Aminu Dandata. Opposition coalition formally adopts ADC, unveils party interim ESCO today. Mark is pro-term national chair Arebosola Secretary, Bolaji Abdullahi, spokesperson, prominent PDP leaders urge members to join movement. Say party APC have failed Nigeria. Declare nation a diminished country. Embarrassed on world stage. Moving over to Daily Independent. Atiku Mark Secondus PDP bigwigs asks members, Nigerians to join coalition. Say APC government is now a disaster, must be voted out. Indices of development have collapsed. Life now hell in Nigeria. Coalition not threat to APC, says Dalori, ruling party's AG chair. Infrastructure is most persuasive advertisement of leadership, says Tinubu. AKK gas pipeline. NNPC announces a successful conversion of River Niger. French government doles out 38 million euros for ICT infrastructure in 10 Nigerian universities. Tinubu names former Nasarawa Governor Amakura board chairman of UPEC. Dangote's initiative will stimulate economic growth, says energy experts. INEC set to release new guidelines on reviewing declared results. And lastly, right here on Daily Independent, subsidy cut. Buhari thinks undermine Tinubu's government, says Gaba Shehu. Moving over to the last one right here, Daily Times. Federal government threatens to withdraw abandoned oil licenses. Atiku Mark Secondus orders urge PDP members to join coalition. Child labor falls by 22 million, 54 million still at risk, attributed to ILO. No land allocated to Wike's children in FCT, says Olayinka. Dreaded terror kingpin Yellow Dambokokolo dies from gunshot wounds, attributed to DHQ. INEC ready to release supplementary election regulations guidelines. REA partners FCMB to launch 100 billion naira financing facility. And lastly, NSITF pays 23 million naira compensation to both mishap victims' family injured worker.
All right. Thank you, Oji.
You're welcome.
Mr. Ocholor, thank you once again for being here with us today. Let's begin the review from Daily Independent, as we're seeing Atiku Mark Secondus and PDP bigwigs asking members, Nigerians, to join coalition. What are your thoughts on this as they march towards their preferred coalition, shall we say, party, which is going to be, released? This is the ADC, the African Democratic Congress. Your take on these developments and their appeal for well-meaning Nigerians and other party members to join the coalition to unseat, or rather, like they say, rescue Nigeria from APC in 2027.
Thank you very much, Natalie, and once again, good morning.
Good morning.
In the past 72 hours into 48, we've seen a whole lot of conversations around this coalition. Talking to the big wigs of theirs among themselves. They see either APC, PDP, ADC, these guys talk at night. Daytime, everybody is going into their different rooms. But at night, they come to the parlor, the sitting room to talk. So Nigerians have seen through most of this. But again, so your question, if you look at the coalition and the journey of how this coalition thing started, you will understand, first of all, that it started with El-Rufai saying the leaders, political leaders, are talking to form a coalition to unseat, dethrone, or whichever word you want to use, the APC from government. There's been counter conversations too, coming from the APC to say, well, that's you guys are daydreaming. But it has come to fruition as far as the coalition is concerned, adopting the African Democratic Congress, the ADC, as the coalition platform, the political party on which they will drive the process of attempting to dethrone the APC from power. So if you look at the conglomeration, the guys who run this, right from former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, which a second dose. You see, what's happening according to what we have seen and been reading in the papers is that they are trying to woo the PDP because most of these guys are members of the PDP. They're trying to woo them to come into the coalition. Because if you see where many of them are coming, many of them are members of the PDP. And very few are coming from the APC, who were in the APC before. So if you look at where these guys are coming from, they just want to have strong backing of their members in the PDP to say, nothing is happening there. Come to the ADC. We can use this platform. But again, like I said the last time, 2027, we think is far. It's not far, it's close. How the ADC intends to do its rallying around and its campaigning, it's around the country to unseat the APC is what I am yet to see, because it is always difficult. Ask any politician to unseat a sitting government. It's a sitting party in power. It's only
Mr. Harrison, I think you're having a technical glitch at this point, but I mean, so far so good. It's just looking like people are wondering the possibility of this coalition actually being able to work. That has been the key question. All right, Mr. Harrison, go ahead with your analysis. Are you positive in the ability of this coalition to actually yield results, the results that they want in 2027?
It will be difficult, Natalie. My take on this is that ADC will attempt, but they don't have what it takes, really. Let's be very fair on this one. Looking at the individuals, and yes, with due respect to these gentlemen, David Mark as the pro-tem national chair, Rauf Aregbesola, former governor of Osun State. These guys are heavyweight politicians, but again, is it for the interest of Nigeria, for the interest of Nigerians, or for their personal interests? These are the issues you need to consider. Nigerians will say, we've seen through these people, they are the same people. But in attempting to remove the sitting government like the APC from power, it's going to just be daydreaming seriously, because the APC is structured on ground in almost all the states, and how they intend to go on this journey of unseating, removing, dethroning the APC from power in 2027 under the leadership of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu is what we'll wait and we'll see. But again, difficult. Just to answer your question.
You made you made a statement, and I reiterate. You said these men don't have what it takes. So my question is, what is it that they need to have, to achieve these shared goals they're trying to attain, well, from now to next year, or regarding the 2027 election?
Oji, you need to convince Nigerians better. These guys, almost all of these persons, they've contested elections. Nigerians know them. Nigerians have heard them. Nigerians know where they're coming from. So to come back to Nigerians again to say, now, that one didn't work, this is the one that now works, Nigerians will look at you like, okay, excuse me, we've gone beyond that. The economy, as far as we're concerned, is thriving gradually. We are not there yet. Government that's there today is doing its best, still not 100%. But for you to come with your stories and say, okay, let's give this platform to our seats there. So that's why I said it's difficult. Okay, they've embarked on elections. You want to talk about former Vice President Atiku Abubakar. He's contested elections serially. You know the story. No need to bore Nigerians with that. Then you talk about others who have come on board on the coalition. Some have been Senate presidents, some have been governors. So, you see, these structures already, many of them haven't come back to contest elections again, but they're just leaders of the parties at the state level or national, whatever the case is. But again, the situation is going back to the same people you worked with or you convinced to support you in the electoral process, in elections. It's difficult because go ahead, Oji.
But we are Nigerians. You're a Nigerian, I'm a Nigerian,
yes.
And we're tired of what we are seeing and experiencing. Now,
so you see where I'm going.
Yeah,
we are tired.
But the thing is, do you want to stick to what you're experiencing right now, or look for something fair? Adopt something fairer than what we are seeing now. Like
we stay with what the government and see things improve. But mind you, these same guys that are coming, this same Bolaji Abdullahi, I know in the next couple of days and weeks he'll be talking, former Minister of Sports, good friend. Now, the point is, you see, we stay. Is it the devil you know, my brother, is better than the one that you have never met before and you don't know what's coming with. But the point is, let's be very serious about it. The economic situation in Nigeria is not 100% very okay. True, no doubt about that. But government in its efforts, they're doing a whole lot. I'm talking about the APC government. They intend to dethrone or remove from power. So it is now left, like in one of the headlines, President Tinubu said that infrastructure is the advertisement for performance. So it's not just infrastructure. He made that statement as regard to whatever forum he made that statement as regard to what he needed to say. But the point is this. I always say something that the AGC coming to tell Nigerians this is the platform. They need to now talk to Nigerians about what they intend to bring to the table and convince Nigerians. Right now, Nigerians are not convinced about any political party now. Right now, they are convinced. They are talking about the stomach, their hunger, poverty, deprivation. Listening to Nigerians on the streets, but the APC that is in power today is also saying, yes, looking at where we're coming from, efforts have been. I'm not the official spokesman of the APC, but again, I believe that Nigerians will listen to both sides of the divide to understand where they're coming from, where they are, where they should be going by 2027. A whole lot of conversations on social media, OG, and Natalie.
A couple of days ago, saying, Mr. Harrison, a couple of days ago, we heard President Bola Ahmed Tinubu refer to those people forming coalition against him as politically internally displaced persons, political IDPs. What did he mean by that? Why would he say that? What is he trying to say about the members of this coalition?
Okay, if I go into the head of Mr. President, with due respect to him, when you say politically internally displaced persons, you see, one thing about politics is that when you go into it and as a leader, you don't get what you desire or you want, you leave and go seek it elsewhere. So this is what I believe he means by politically internally displaced. So instead of these leaders coming to work with him and the administration and the party, they said, no, we'll do our thing our own way. The PDP was in power for so many years, 16 plus. And for them, they did their own thing. There was also the opposition on the other side saying PDP didn't do well and all of that. Then President Buhari came on board. And in his 8 years in power under the APC, Nigerians on the other side, these same leaders, too, they said a whole lot. And President Buhari also said his thing. But again, for President Tinubu, to answer your question, he believes and he has seen that the gentlemen on the other side, rather than come join government in making government work, they believe that, okay, because you see, politics is all about negotiation, OG. Politics is about, okay, if I come in here, what do I get? What will my people get? It's all about give and take. Now, if they see that the platform they used to belong to doesn't provide them the opportunity, they go to another platform and see if they could use that to attain to whatever position they would love to attain. So that's why I believe he may have used that word, politically internally displaced persons.
Okay. Still having this conversation as you're going inside of our president's head. You know, in all this, he doesn't quiver. He's still talking tough and, he's calling out the coalition and all. What could actually be going through in his mind? And is giving him all the temerity to utter such or things he's saying, in talking down on whatever coalition they are bringing against him and his party come 2027.
Confidence.
Apart from the confidence, are we looking at the power of incumbency here and knowing fully well that Nigerians too are backing him? Because apparently if you go to the streets, it's a different story.
Yeah, go to the streets, different story, but there's still part of that street that still believe in the administration of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So the street cannot be 100% just against. That's the way power works. Now, you spoke about power of incumbency. That's true. That's why I used the word earlier. It's difficult to dethrone any man in power. He has access to resources. He has access to, you see, leadership, the way it is unique, depends on whoever is holding it. Now, for the president, his lieutenants, the men around him, economic experts, technocrats, administrators, everybody putting something on the table to let Nigerians understand that. Because for you to become president, you came up with a policy direction, a policy framework under the renewed hope agenda. So for that, he needs to further convince Nigerians as to what is working and what's not working. Is it in the power sector? Is it in agriculture? Is it in energy? Okay, we go back to energy now. You read a headline that says the federal government reviewing licenses of dormant oil fields. That's a conversation. Why is that happening? So because if those dormant oil fields are working, it improves the economy of the country. So I've listened to what the coalition have been saying. They've been saying Nigeria is grinding to a halt, nothing is working and all of that. Be fair and be fair. Nigeria is working, but not at the speed they think it should work. This is where the conversation is.
But if they trade places and maybe they people on the other side are actually in the government, what would you think that APC too would be attacking them, be attack dogs too to the people in power, right? If they switch or swap places, it's not going to be the same thing.
Oji, if you leave Afia TV today and go be the chief press secretary to the governor of any of the Southeast states ruling, and you'll see things differently. When you leave power, you'll see things differently. This is the way politics works. Because in being in power, you defend the policy direction and framework of your boss or of the party that is in power. Now, this is the way it is. When PDP was in power, PDP for so many years, they told Nigerians, this is what we could do. They did their thing, they left. Now APC came and they told Nigerians, even while in their position against the PDP, they made a whole lot of statements as regards what PDP wasn't doing and what they would do. You remember when they were campaigning, dollar to the naira will be this, fuel will be this. But the reality when they came into power was quite different. And they started talking to Nigerians when former Vice President Osinbajo came, telling Nigerians the reality on ground is quite different and the government is doing its best. And President Buhari, through his spokespeople and, of course, ministers, they all that was after a year or two. So, you see, and Nigerians on the other side, again, the opposition, PDP and others were not saying they didn't come into power with ideas. They didn't come with policies. They just came, he started the car and started driving without understanding what the engine is like of that car. So this is where politics is. If you are in that place, be it the presidential villa, as a rock, or a government house, you now need to let your people understand the policy direction, where you're coming from and where you're going. If you leave, you are now going to leave all of that behind and now say, okay, the government in power now is not doing anything. When we were there, this is what we did. This is how political communication works in or outside. So that's why I said, if you Oji leave or Natalie leave to be spokesperson to the CPS, to somebody, one of the governor today, you view things differently. So you that is on the side of, Nigerians are not doing very well, you will not be the one on the inside to now say, Nigerians, this is where government is coming from. Don't worry, things will look good. Government is working. That's how it is.
All right, Mr. Ocholor, we're going on a quick break now. When we return, we'll be looking at what a Labour Party candidate in the 2023 election is saying about, let's say, what Tinubu was conferred during his trip to St. Lucia. We'll find out what he's saying about it and, continue this analysis. The Morning Show returns in just seconds. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're still watching the Afia Morning Show, the second day of July 2025. I'm still looking at headlines making the news today. We'll take this next story from the Guardian newspaper. We're seeing that the government of St. Lucia has conferred its highest honor, Knight Commander of the Order of St. Lucia, on President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Now, this conferment has not gone well or gone down well with Peter Obi, who says that while people are dying back home, the president is receiving recognition and titles over there in St. Lucia. Now, I would like to come back to you, Mr. Ocholor. How do you feel about this conferment on the president, the highest honor given to him by the government of this Caribbean country. Your thoughts?
Thank you very much, Natalie. His Excellency, former Governor Peter Obi, he is very well within his fundamental rights to make the statement. Of course, he is on the opposition, that's the other side, to now say, no, this is not the time to go receive. He didn't go to receive. He went on a state visit. And it is only under diplomatic protocol. He addressed the Parliament of St. Lucia. And of course, he discussed bilateral relations between Nigeria and St. Lucia with the Governor General of St. Lucia. Now, you find that within that period, it's now left for the Governor General, Parliaments, the government and people of St. Lucia to now say, you have come to visit us on a state visit in recognition of our relationship. Because mind you, St. Lucia, as the Caribbean island, the people, most of the people have African roots. Senegambia, Nigeria, the slaves who left the African shores that were taken to those places. So they recognize the roots and say recognition of the relationship. It is only fit and proper that the government and people of St. Lucia give the highest title, recognition of the place of Nigeria in the historical relationship with St. Lucia. So it's not out of place really. It's all part of diplomatic protocol. But for His Excellency Peter Obi to say no, why should you go receive? All of that. It's not for Mr. President. So he has the right to decline if he wants to. But again, under diplomatic relations, you don't decline such. So he's saying that why should you be doing all of that? Why Nigeria is not working, or why Nigeria, he has every right to say whatever he has said, looking at what the headlines, the papers are saying. But again, truth of the matter is, let's be fair. Nigeria, just like Mr. President will go to France and they give him the highest honor in France, or Prince Charles in the UK invites him on a state visit. This one, there was a conversation between St. Lucia and Nigeria for a state visit. It was not a personal, private visit. So it is now, like I would repeat for sake of emphasis, that it's the government and the people, under the direction of the Governor General of St. Lucia, to award, to recognize, to give honor to the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So it's not out of place. Anybody who is against that then means that, okay, should Mr. President decline? I think he shouldn't decline. He should accept, because he's receiving on behalf of the government and people of Nigeria to further build relationship between the governments and people of Nigeria and the government and people of St. Lucia.
The question now is one about time. Timing, that people are dying in Nigeria, and then we're seeing many of the front covers of the dailies with ribbon cutting, commissionings and the rest. And now just the cherry on the cake for the LP candidate is seeing the president collecting this title from St. Lucia. You know, it's just appears to be some sort of a, I wouldn't want to say confusion, but it looks like, I don't know. To some people, they don't agree with it. I'll leave it at that. So
yes, to some people, they will never agree.
Yeah.
Naturally, they will never agree. There's never a better time. There's never a wrong time. There's always the time for everything. And for this one, it's you talk about timing of the. If you talk about timing of the state visit, that's another conversation. You talk about timing. Yes, people will say no. This is not the time to go on a state visit. But again, there are certain conversations that are predetermined, pre-organized over time. You may be looking at something from this angle. The state visit may have been a conversation since last year or 2 years, but they just look at the timetable and convenience of both Mr. President and other people. So the timing is not the doing of Mr. President to say, now is the time to come pay state visit. But again, Nigerians definitely will have their say on this. Why go commission project? Why go state visiting? Why go receive recognition awards when Nigeria is not working? So if for example, I would like to ask, with due respect to former former Governor Peter Obi, if he was president tomorrow or sometime in the future, and is invited on a state visit, would he say he would not receive a state award, a national award?
Well,
from that government?
Sorry, let me come in there, Mr. Ocholor. Let me come in there. Let me come in there because let me just come in there. Now, the president could not make it to Yellowater at the time that the 200 residents were killed by suspected Fulani herdsmen. But then he seemed to be able to make it to the Caribbean island at a time.
Nice conversation.
That's a conversation I would love to have. So
that's a conversation.
I really want to get your stand clearly. Beyond the stand of Nigerians, I want you to tell us your opinion on what is happening now in the country versus President Tinubu's travel, his trip to St. Lucia, and everything that has become an aftermath of that decision.
Natalie. Excellent. Now, what I find not, from my personal opinion, what I find not good, I was reasoning about this, is communications people and security people on that visit to the town you mentioned now. I watched the entire video. Yes. For me, the security apparatus, the security architecture, and the office of the president would have started that. He should have visited that community. Even if it's 1 hour, 30 minutes, at the case, he should have visited, he should have had what you call one-on-one conversations with the people in that community. You call it a mini town hall or something. There should have been that happening. But somewhere along the line, maybe it was thought about, and maybe the security architecture just felt it wasn't like safe enough to do that. But you remember the fallout of that. Nigerians came out to say, yes, some leaders visited. Why couldn't you? You were in the States after all. You were in the States. Why couldn't you just visit? Because I tell you something, I've come to understand the way some leaders work. In the United States, for example, when there's a shooting somewhere, when Joe Biden, I believe, and some other president, you just find them take what you call unscheduled visits. Even White House press would not know on time and just say, okay, we just got information that Mr. President is on his way to Louisiana or to Los Angeles or somewhere to go talk with the families of, or go see what's going on. That's what everybody would have expected Mr. President to do. He didn't do that, but he still went to the States, but didn't go to the community. That, for me, was a disconnect in all the good things that would have happened on that day. So tie that now to, okay, you couldn't go to that place, but yet you were in this, you went on a state visit. Now, mind you, the state visit wasn't planned. Like I said, some things are pre-planned. Some things are pre-arranged.
How can we confirm that it was pre-arranged? Are we dancing on the positive side of this situation?
I have little knowledge of how these things work. You understand that my little knowledge tells me that when there's a diplomatic conversation between the Federal Ministry of Foreign Affairs or the Minister of Foreign Affairs or the government, most times when such official letters come, they come through an envoy. And that special envoy will present a letter to Mr. President to say, or do what you call a diplomatic communication channels, emails, or what we call telegrams to the other country to say, the Governor General or Parliament or whoever has approved or agreed to a state visit or requests that at your convenience, please pay us a state visit and all of that. So we can't confirm that, Natalie, just to be sure. I'm not in Ministry of Foreign Affairs or the presidency. But what I know is that this thing just come overnight. State visits don't just get planned overnight. It comes with a whole lot of protocol, with a whole lot of planning, and it comes with internal and external conversations taking place. It's not 3 months, not 6 months, not 1 year, because of what you call administrative convenience, executive convenience of the leaders on both sides.
Well, we're talking about the way, yes, we can ascertain it takes a whole lot to plan these things, but we are talking about timing here. And I was taking back to your assertions and, you know, when you were defending the timing, right? You couldn't get to Yellowater, but you went to St. Lucia to the state visit and all that. Now, I'm not going to ask you, let's remove Peter Obi from the picture, whatever he said, or he's been calling out the cotton ribbons and leaving the country and, you know, jetting off all the time, right? Are the people's concerns valid in your thoughts, right? Are the people's concern valid? Stating also, why would the president go about jetting off almost all the time and not paying attention, keen attention to our economy and most especially security? Like, we know governance is all about, number one thing you should find in a leader is empathy. Who feels the pulse of the people and concerned about the welfare and well-being of the citizen he or she governs, right? Now, let's talk about the concerns of the citizen. Are they valid now? Going by your assertions and defense on timing.
Okay, the conversations, the comments of Nigerians are very valid at this point because they have they elected the government. They have the government in power. They brought the government in power because there was an election that took place. You want to say it was free and fair, whatever the case, but that's another story. But the point is that comments by Nigerians are very valid at this point because for Nigerians, they have a right to say, Mr. President, you shouldn't have gone on this state visits for now. You should have postponed the visit or write back, tell them this is not the right time to come for such a state visit. It's well with them. Nigerians, our fundamental human rights are clearly stated. They can say that. But it all depends on the conversation within to say, is it the right time? Because among those working around Mr. President, his advisors, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and National Security Advisor and everyone, there could be a conversation to say, this may not be the right time. I believe that should have happened. Maybe there was, I don't know. I don't work in there. But I only just try to paint a picture of saying some of these visits are predetermined or they come before some of these unfortunate events happen in Nigeria, the attacks in that community. But again, what should have happened is that there could be a case of, okay, can we not go on the state visit for now? Let's focus on ensuring there's peace and security within that covers by the as commander-in-chief overseeing the security architecture. That's one part. Secondly, you brought another phase of the conversation, which has to do with what Nigerians believe should be the right thing to do in terms of why don't you just stay back and see that things work. That's true. But again, he's got people who he's delegated responsibilities to, and he has to not micromanage them, but rather supervise and oversee. He's got people working with him. But I totally get what you're saying, Oji. I get what you're saying. And listening to Nigerians feel our president shouldn't be globetrotting more frequently. He should be less globetrotting and just stay and work to see that Nigeria is working, the economy is working and all of that. So to answer your question, yes, Nigerians have the right to make their reservations known as to where we are as a country, the state of insecurity, and of course, the economic situation of the country.
They also complain about a disconnect. Do you feel also that there's a disconnect between our leaders and the citizens at this crucial time?
We've always talked about disconnects. Yes, we've always talked there. There's always the disconnect, Oji. You see, communication, the way communication works is a two-way thing. And the disconnect I meant is this. You see, when you relate, you are in power, you must always get in touch with the people as to what you're doing. If you're not doing enough, you do more. I've always talked about not waiting to engage in crisis communication, but there should have what we call citizen, not periodic, regular citizen engagement. So that's what I meant by disconnect. You see, the disconnect between leaders and those being led is something that has really given rise to the conversation of what should be or what shouldn't, and how things should work and not how things are not working. So this is where the conversation has been. It's a thin line, communicating, feedback processing, as far as re-engineering communication with the people is concerned. So for me, I believe that the disconnect has to do with letting the people know that you are not alone. We're in this together and things are working. Whether the Federal Ministry of Information and National Orientation is doing that, why? Well, still a conversation. It's just like you have the television stations like Afia TV doing their thing for the Southeast region and Nigeria in general. That's where the connection is. So it's to now let Nigerians know through the various media, through media, social media, whatever it is, connect back with Nigerians. So the disconnect really is, okay, not talking to Nigerians, just like you and someone in the same room and you're not talking. There should be a communication. Then there's the tendency to believe that something is not working at the back end. So that's what I meant by the disconnect between those in government and those being led.
All right. Now, we have an imminent matter coming up come July 4th and 5th, the public hearing on the constitutional review on electoral reform. Now, there are a couple of things that the Senate is going to want Nigerians to weigh in on. We have key issues up for debate, including local government autonomy, state police and security, judiciary reform, gender equity, electoral reform, state creation, among other key issues. Now, when we think of this public hearing, how positive do you feel about this reform yielding results, especially as Nigerians don't feel INEC has lived up to expectations? How positive are you that a constitutional reform would really solve a large chunk of the Nigerian problem?
We've gone forth and back, Natalie, on constitutional reforms from the National Assembly. And previous governments, they've tried to reform, provide reform processes and solutions to some aspects of the Constitution as it is today, the 1999 Constitution as amended. For me, I just believe that the exercise by the National Assembly in going to the various geopolitical zones to hold public hearings on most of the areas you mentioned, for me, it's something that Nigerians aren't really interested in. Nigerians just want their lives better. They want to see good governance. But again, will all of these reforms provide good governance? For example, state policing. You've been there to understand that Nigerians have had various conversations as to how state policing should work. There are those who support it. Others say no. Governors as chief security officers of their various states will use it as a vendetta tool against perceived opposition. So that's one part. Then you talk about local government autonomy. The Supreme Court ruled on that to say, yes, the local government should be fully run on the full autonomy. But again, you have some governors, some states saying, we've had that conversation really, to say, no, let it run the way it's running. Others are running full autonomy, but to what extent? Others are running slowly on that. Then you talk about gender equity. Yes, for women to have more place in the national space. It's coming gradually. But the constitutional reform, if the National Assembly, now at the end of the day, they've done their public hearings. One thing is very important here with public hearings, Natalie. You know, when you say public hearings, and who are the people that the National Assembly members, who are members of the Constitutional Review Committee, who are they going to be talking to? Because you find out that most times they hold these public hearings in not public spaces.
All right. Well, we have in Enugu, for instance, we're made to understand that the hearing will be held at the International Conference Center, and we have groups of
the
people,
ICC, yes.
The ICC, groups of people that are already galvanizing crowds, telling people to come out and make their voices heard, you know, trying to form some kind of agenda around this date. So go ahead. I mean, it appears that it's kind of a public space, is it? Or doesn't that count?
Yes. The ICC, beautiful structure, public space, correct? So now the invitation is to you and I to come make a case, to come make submissions. So that's why I use the word, because we've seen in the past where they hold public hearings and it's just government and a few CSOs, civil society organizations. But now it's getting more interesting that Nigerians are becoming more and more aware, enlightenment-wise, and educated about these things. So it's good if it's going to happen, like you're inviting market women, you're inviting artisans, farmers. You see, it should not be elite farmers, it should not be elite market women, it should not be elite. I know what I'm talking about. It should be the people out there on the streets to come make their voices heard. It will be under representation. That's not a problem because of crowd. So you see, now will these representations, will these submissions make the documents? Will they be included in the documents? So will they be now? Because the way these things work most times is just by seat shifting or shifting of some of these things. No, this should go, this shouldn't go. But let Nigerians, the voices of Nigerians, be heard in these public hearings. Bring it to the National Assembly where we have our representatives to have conversations. So if that's going to happen, I just pray it happens in the other geopolitical zones so that everybody is carried along. Right. There is nothing like citizen engagement and town hall meetings for things like this, so that tomorrow when the final document comes out, Nigerians will say, yes, I was part of that process. I made my contribution and happy it's working out. Because to do this whole review is one thing, coming out as a debate is another thing, passing it is another thing, and president assenting to it, if eventually he agrees to, is another part of the puzzle. And
what about obedience? What about the rule of law? What about after everything happening, you still have loopholes that could make people, not implement this? Like now we're seeing the judicial reform, including that there should be a timeline for each trial. There should be a timeline for a judge to deliver a verdict. But who is checking? Who is checking these things to make sure that that timeline is adhered to? Or is it just going to be a case of when things are flouted, you're told to go to court?
Yes, good question. What we don't have in this part of the crime is what we call independent processes, where independent groups or directorates or bodies monitor what happens in the various divides, the judiciary, the executive, or the legislature. I will use South Africa, for example. What happens there is that there's what we call the independent monitoring and evaluation system either in the judiciary, in the executive, to monitor what government does. Now, in the case of the judiciary, like you spoke about timing of electoral matters, where cases should be heard and the time frame. In one of the headlines, you saw INEC saying that they will soon release guidelines for election results and all of that. There must be a conversation, Natalie, between INEC and the judiciary being coordinated within in the middle by the executive. So the conversation really has to do with the Electoral Act as to providing timing. So this is one of the things the Constitutional Review needs to address. Right. Because if you look at the timing, the amount of time provided for electoral cases being heard, being decided, it's so long that, the politicians too have said, okay, whatever case, I've won the election, you go to court. Now, okay, fine. The man on the other side will say, I'll go to court. But again, the timing of the court processes from tribunal level to appeal court level and all of that is usually so long that some of the politicians just give up and just say, okay, I know. Some will say, no, but I just don't want to go to that extent because I know what that means, who controls the judiciary and all of that, or INEC. So the thing is, for the electoral process to be fair, the thing is for the constitutional process, rather, to be fair, the members, the people managing it, to be able to ensure that whatever decisions, whatever recommendations really are provided, they are recommendations that are transparent enough, that support the yearnings and aspirations of Nigerians for a true electoral process that will be embraced by all.
All right, Oji, go ahead.
Okay, well, since you're talking about INEC here, as they said to release new guidelines on reviewing declared results, but, INEC, they have so many guidelines. But INEC still does what INEC does, right? But you see, this review and contain the malpractice, intimidation, coercion, do you see this yielding result at the end of the day? Which we know INEC always does what INEC does.
Yes, like the word INEC does, whatever INEC does. It is what it is. You see, the law was made by man, and most times man knows where and how to circumvent the laws. So when we spoke about constitutional review and how it will affect electoral processes, Nigerians most times will just say, okay, this one, INEC will do, using your word, will do whatever they would always do. But the point is, Nigerians, we should have a new way of doing things, not doing things the same way and expect a different result. Is not working. So what Nigerians yearn for is an electoral process that INEC will abide by the rules and regulations as the central
and that's
referee.
what we hope for. Thank you so much.
That's what everyone is hoping
for joining. We're already out of time now. We do have news on the hour. Thank you for making our time to be with us.
Very insightful
today, answering our questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Natalie and Oji, and enjoy the rest of your day.
You too, sir.
Yes, and enjoy your warm cup of coffee over there.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to make a fresh one now.
Okay.
Make a fresh one.
All right, great. Great. The morning show returns in just seconds as we take regional stories. News break comes up now. Stay tuned.